because I see her pain and I cannot imagine what that must be like as a parent to lose a child.
Kia ora and welcome to season 4 of Treading Water. Today I'll be talking with Jenny May Clarkson. Growing up, what was a young Jenny May like?
Confident, had a very clear idea about what direction I was heading in, and I knew from a very early age that I was going to leave my hometown of Puopio and that I was going to become a silver fern.
Being the youngest of 6, how was that growing up? Were you the favourite?
Well, I think I was. But I adored my older siblings. I hate it when this happens. My brother passed away when he was 10, I was 6, so I never got to fully know him. My mum tells stories about him, so I feel like I know who he was. Yeah. I remember his smile, and my mum always tells me that he was very jealous of me because he was the youngest until I came along, so they had to tell him that you're the youngest boy and she's the youngest girl, which he seemed to think was okay. Yeah, so I'm really grateful that I have those memories and I hold on to those memories and talk to my sons about them as well, with one of them being named after him.
It's so special that, you know, your family and you have been able to talk about the memory of your brothers. How important has that been for you guys?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's tough for my mum to talk. Well, it's not tough for her, actually. She loves talking about him. It's probably harder for me because I see her pain and I cannot imagine what that must be like as a parent to lose a child. So she's always willing to talk about him. She wants to keep his memory alive, which I love. Yeah, it's just hard to see my mum like that, that's all. Yeah.
And then later on in life, you lost your brother, Jeff?
Yeah, my brother Jeff, who passed away, gosh, it must be 7 or 8 years ago now, of bowel cancer. I still find it very difficult. Mostly because he could still be here if he'd sought help earlier. So much about those 2 years that we had him from the time he was diagnosed. You know, it's really selfish because I have so many memories of when he went to see the doctor, when they told him that there was nothing more that they could do. And you just wish that I could have responded better in those times. But at the same time, I'm grateful for the amount of time I got to spend with him and being with him when he passed was a real gift. And I'm grateful again that I was there holding his hand and I was able to say, it's all right, Jeff, you go. And in the end, my take on it is that my father passed away 4 months later after my brother. And I truly believe it was a broken heart.
How did you grieve all those losses you've had in your life?
So I had to do a lot of work, but I didn't realise I had a lot of work to do. So when he died, I came back to work and everything felt fine for several weeks. until I started, which I know now, of having panic attacks on air. I would start reading the sports news and then I would get short of breath and I couldn't breathe, trying to read the auto cue, get through a sentence, have to take in a deep, big breath when the camera wasn't on me. And that went on for a few weeks before I went to see our counsellor, and I spoke to her about what was happening. And it was at that point that she talked about grief. She said, "You haven't dealt with your brother's grief." And I said, "What do you mean?" "He's fine. You know, yes, he's no longer with us, but he no longer has that pain." And she said, "Yes, that was his pain, but what about yours?" And that was the start of me kind of pulling things apart. And what I learnt to do was actually be comfortable in hurt. And when that grief became overwhelming, it's just to accept it. Not try and push it down, because that's how it was coming out with my panic attacks. And I would often find myself just sitting at the beach and crying. And that was one of the ways that I dealt with how I was feeling and releasing it.
Being connected to your whakapapa, has that provided you with a greater sense of belonging?
Yeah, I was definitely in touch with who I am as a person when I was young and growing up. We grew up the marae was just up the hill. I mean, we still have Mum still lives in our family home. So very connected to whakapapa in terms of te reo Māori, not so much, even though it was around me, not directly in my home, because my dad would have been in his 60s, went to learn night classes, obviously through, loss of language came through, colonisation, all of those things. And so it was lost to his generation. So it wasn't necessarily around us. And my grandfather would speak it, but not as much in our home. And then obviously, as I was growing, I had a real issue with being Māori, because everything I saw around me was negative. All the messages that were coming my way was negative. So I kind of parked that bit. I kind of parked it to continue doing what I was doing. And then kind of reconnected back in with that later on in life when I went to do total immersion, and that's when everything just kind of came together. There's a real shame in not knowing your own language. And everybody's experience is obviously different, but for me it was a real shame to go into a Māori space where I should feel at home, where I should feel comfortable and accepted. That shame sat with me because I couldn't converse with anybody in te reo Māori. Yeah, and it's something that a lot of people feel. And I was really encouraged and inspired by a workmate of mine who went to do the total immersion course, and she would come into work every day and she said, "Oh my God, Jay, this is amazing. I'm learning all these words." And I could see her, I could see the confidence, I could see her glowing. And I was like, I want some of that. I want what you've got. Hardest thing I've ever done, but the best thing I've ever done.
You got your moku kauae. How was the response from people when you came on air?
I was off for a week after I had my kauae, and the first time I went out in public I was incredibly nervous. I had to ring my husband and go, "Okay, I'm driving, I'm going into an appointment that I've got, and I'm really, really nervous." And he just talked me through it. He's going, "It's all good, babe, this is just, part of your journey, everything will be fine." And I'm like, "Well, you can say everything's fine, Anyway, everything was fine. But I remember sitting in my car not wanting to get out just for a few moments, and I really had to settle myself. Because in my head I was thinking, what if somebody says, "What's that on your face? What's that scribble on your face?" Thankfully, none of that happened. But what did happen was I could see the curiosity on people's faces when they saw me, and then would look at it and then look away, and then look up and look away. And that was a real moment for me, because I have, people I know who wear kauae, and I'm curious, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, okay, so, what's the whakapapa of your kauae? What's the story with your kauae? And I think people were just curious. So by the time I got back to work and to sit on the couch at that stage, I was good. Through all of the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, getting through the narrative in your head that you're not good enough, coming out the other side of all of that, and liking who I am as a person now, that's what I'm most proud of. I make a real intention every day just to try and be a little bit better, even if that's just in how I talk to my boys. Because, I can bark at them. And then you go, man, they're 9. Why did I speak to them like that? So for me, just being intentional every day of just going, okay, I'm not going to talk to them like that. And I might get it right in one moment, and then 2 minutes later, I might, bark at them again. But just trying to be better. And I like that place. I like that space that I'm in.